Today on the Pitchbook Podcast, we have Bailey Misbach pitching Lying by Sam Harris. Batter up! Hey, Bailey, thanks for hopping on and being on the podcast here. You're kind of a friend of a friend that has of one of our relief pitchers from earlier, and you have an interesting job. You work in the oil field, I think in South Dakota, North Dakota, one of those
Oh no,
places.
just out here in eastern Utah as
Oh,
well.
okay. I don't know why it's at the Dakotas for some reason.
I think I told you that. I was
Okay.
just trying to build it up a little bit.
So you're not like on. So you're fairly close to home. Do you travel for like weeks at a time, or how does that work? What's it like working there?
Typically I work a 5 days on, 3 days off schedule, so I'm still away from home for a bit.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, just out in eastern Utah. Most of the oil jobs are, you think of Texas, the Dakotas and stuff, but
Yeah,
Are,
we got
are
our
they
share.
are they doing mostly, is it shale oil, or do they have the oil derricks where they're just like pumping it out of the ground?
yeah, it just comes straight out of the ground. And Utah apparently has really unique oil. It's a waxy yellow and black oil, so it can be used for a lot more stuff than just gasoline and diesel. And so a lot of the plastics, like on capsules, those come from crude oil, buttons, deodorants. And one of the biggest customers up in Salt Lake for the time at one point was those Duralogs, those fireplace Duralogs.
Sure.
I guess that was refined crude oil on the outside that would make it burn for so long. So it's a very unique oil, and there's a lot of it. I've heard that just in that eastern part of like the Basin, Vernal, Roosevelt area, that there's more oil than like all of Texas. So that's what I've heard on the street. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's
Well, they do have they do have a dinosaur museum. That I know.
Yes.
So
well, that is the claim to fame, Vernal. What do you actually do there? What is your job?
And so I haul it. And so
Okay.
I'm a truck driver. And so most of the wells I pick up from are in Roosevelt, and then I deliver to the rails in Price.
Okay. Very cool. And so you're basically usually like in a hotel or something, or they have some sort of like condos. How does it work being on for 5 days and home for 3?
I make the most money sleeping in the truck. So when I'm done,
Oh.
hop in the back,
take a nap.
take a nap, and then keep rolling. Yep.
Wow,
I get paid by the load. So
okay, so it's just go. So I imagine I love that you are kind of a blue collar guy. I picture you in the truck reading a book, being very intellectual. Tell us about Lying. How did you come across this book? What happened here? How did you figure this book out? Tell us about it.
well, I do relate to you guys in a little bit, because my office is the truck. And so I do sit for long times. I walk around a bit and stuff. And but yeah, books is one of the things I like to do. Music kind of gets boring after a while.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't got service, and so I got to download them for most of my route. But specifically this book, my brother suggested to me several years ago. And the book, like we talked about, is called Lying, and it talks about lying. And just it was a life-changing book for me, because it really taught me what lying is. I'm not going to quote exactly how he frames it, but we lie a lot more than we think we do, because his definition is something along the lines of lying is the intention to deceive. And so you can be factually telling the truth, but if you're trying to deceive someone, that's really what a lie is.
Yeah.
So there's like
true.
gradients of a lie, something that is maybe a 1% lie to 100%, kind of in between, but it's all lying, right?
Yeah. So there's the straight out blatant lies. I could say that I'm in Florida right now, and there's nothing true about that. I'm sitting in Vineyard, Utah right now. Or there's he uses this example. I'm Sam Harris calling from the White House, but he's not actually a government employee of the White House. He's just standing outside the property of the White House.
Gotcha.
And I would like to talk to you. So factually, you could argue, yes, he is calling from the White House. He is at the White House. But
Not the way you think.
yeah, the intention is if I call someone and tell them I'm from the White House, that makes it sound like I'm, you know, president's right hand man. And this is something extremely important, but I'm just average, everyday Joe Bailey calling you from outside the premises, and everybody has access to sit outside the White House and call people.
Hmm. So what is kind of is he basically saying here we all lie, here's how not to do it, here's why we shouldn't do it? What is he kind of the thesis of the book?
Yeah, for me, it painted a picture of exactly what you're sacrificing when you do lie to somebody. And a lot of the times it actually hurts the liar a lot more so than the person being lied to. For example, one thing that he talks about is, so if I were to lie to either one of you two, exaggerate about my trucks, say something that's not true about it or something, you guys are like, okay, Bailey's got a cool truck or whatever. He might have exaggerated about it, or said that maybe a mechanic actually did everything on my truck, but I'm claiming that I did it because I want to look like I'm a handyman or something. You guys kind of walk away and just think, oh, that's cool or whatever. But for me, subconsciously, our friendship and our relationship, it causes a distrust. And I view both of you two subconsciously as less intelligent, even though you guys just said, oh, okay, cool, that's cool that you got that, all that stuff on your truck or whatever. But that damages the relationship on my end by saying that. And I don't trust you guys as much because I'm like, subconsciously, I'm thinking, well, they're dumb enough to believe me. And really, all those traits just hurt me more. So you guys just walk away with, okay, well, whatever, that's a cool truck, but it's damaged our relationship. And then um, it ruins the trust from my end too.
Mhm.
So it's just, sometimes we're tempted to make these little lies to make ourselves look better, or, exaggerate a cool story or something. But when you look at it that way, it's not worth it to lie about those dumb things like that.
Do you think what drives people to lie? Is it the ego wanting other people to think more about you than what is maybe there? Is it?
Yeah. And I think it's harmless, or it's perceived as harmless. What's another? I shouldn't be giving away the whole book, but another example.
No, give it away.
That's
Give it
fine.
Okay. So another example was of a lady and her kid in the hotel, and they were visiting out of town somewhere, and they were seeing a friend, and they got rushed. Went to the friend's house, and she wanted to give her a gift while she was there, and they didn't have time to go out and get something. But the shampoo bottles in the shower were abnormally nice, and so they were a luxury, just not cheap looking or whatever. So they got a bag and put it in there, and then she gave it to the friend, and the child was there. And she said, oh, this is so nice, where'd you get them? And she said, I got them at the gift shop at the hotel.
Mm.
And so, because she probably just thought, oh, it's not harmless to lie about this thing. And she might have even been thinking, I want her to feel like this is a good gift. I don't want her to feel like I just threw something together. But it backlashed pretty bad when the innocent kid who didn't know what was going on said, no, mom, when you got him out of the shower.
Awesome.
And so now they're in this awkward situation, and they might laugh it off or something. But when it boils down to it later in the future, I don't think that there's going to be as much trust in that relationship anymore.
That's why I always teach my kids to lie young, so that they're on board with what I'm saying.
Get it out of their system.
Exactly. Teach them while they're young.
Yeah.
What is it? I'm curious. Does he talk about like the white lies when your wife asks how the pants look on her? What do they? He's got to talk about that. I mean, come on.
Yes.
What does he say?
Gives the exact example.
So what am I supposed to do? Because I feel like it's always a catch-22, right?
Yeah, and so he a lot of the book focuses on those type of lies where you're it's not like a blatant lie. It's you're kind of battling between two goods.
Hmm.
And he does suggest um so for example, right before that one, he has a friend who's a little bit overweight.
Hmm.
They're at the pool and um he's asking him, am I fat or whatever? And he looks at him and he goes, no, well, I think you're a good looking guy, but if I were you, I'd want to lose 20 pounds.
Hmm.
And so he was very honest, could have been very hurtful, but he
Sure.
said 2 months down the road, he lost 15 pounds.
Hmm.
And so and going back to the dress one, um, he mentions how when a woman or your wife asks that, it's not a question. It's it's more of a statement of, do you love me, or tell me that you love me. And
Right.
so when you respond with, you're beautiful, but I don't think that that dress shows the best parts of you or something like that, he just suggests that that can have similar outcomes and build trust in the relationship. But I I don't know if I dare suggest to anybody to say that to a woman. So that's that's his words, not mine.
I have this coworker. Well, she's a friend, coworker. We've worked together for I don't know 15 years. It's been a long time, and she is just blatantly honest, like to the point when I first started working with her, because you're just when you meet someone who is always just a truth teller, they don't care what the outcome is, what the ramifications are. She's kind of that way. And when I first started working with her, I was like, wow, like she's just pretty direct. And over the years, as we've had people kind of come on our team and they start working with her, and I always kind of sit back like, this is going to be interesting, to watch. But her philosophy is, and I'm curious if Sam Harris has the same philosophy, that truth telling is merciful. When you tell somebody, like in this example, you might want to lose 20 pounds. When you continue in that lie, you're not really helping them to grow. You're just, they're not going to progress at all. But when you tell the truth, it helps them to internalize it, iterate, make their life a little bit better, kind of clean out the cobwebs a little bit. I don't know. Is that the purpose of the book, is to help people be more truthful and honest, to build a society where we've got these foundations?
Yeah, I think so for sure. Um, think about the, you know, how many people did he ask or come by who noticed that he needed to lose 20 pounds and didn't say anything? And what's his relationship like now with Sam Harris, who told him, and now he's actually 15 pounds lighter. So he's
Okay.
looking back at 200 people, whatever, how many people who saw the truth, who could have said the same thing, but he's just thinking, I imagine this is the friend that was able to, tell it to me straight, and now my life's changed from it. So I'd imagine that that relationship is super strong.
What? How did this change? You said this changed your life. If you can, I mean, if you don't, I don't want to get too personal, but like, how did it change your life?
Um, the first thing I started doing was, it's so I've always worked blue collar jobs, did cranes, and with that job you lift heavy sheetrock all day and everything, and people call in every single day, and you might have something with school, with family or whatever, and uh it's super easy to say, man, I got a headache, I can't come in, man, my back hurts, I'm
Mhm.
not coming in. And it's just an easy way. Everybody has those. Everybody has days there where they can't come in, where they're injured or whatever. But I just told myself I'm never going to lie about my reasons of why I'm calling in or asking for work off. And so what that did was, one is I was like, well, if it's a dumb reason to take work off, I'm not going to do it. And then two, I was just, I think all the managers know. They know that, okay, this guy's back has hurt, 3 times in the last month, but I see him walking around or whatever. And people get pretty general good sense of who's lying and who's not. And I think that's been beneficial for work, friendships. I just went out to lunch with a friend not too long ago, and it was meaningful for me to hear him say this about me. But he said, Bailey, one thing that I've always admired about you is that you are you. And so when you say something, when you do something, you know it's something that you believe is true, and that's something that actually is you. And I don't know. I just think that type of respect and that type of relationship with someone's more valuable than that short term. Because when you're lying, really what it is that it's a short term. I don't want to face reality, and I'm going to push the consequences back to later in the future. And when you do that, the consequences multiply too. And so it's been, I mean, I still lie. I still do. I haven't completely committed to never lying again for the rest of my life, but I've been definitely more honest since I've read that book. And it's just been refreshing to realize this is way easier. It's way better for relationships. It's way more trusting. And I just
Hmm.
value what it brings to a friendship or any type of relationship.
Does he talk about lying to yourself? By the way, thanks for sharing that story. That was actually really cool. Does he talk about lying to yourself? Because this is me, right? Like, I should go to the gym today. And I'm like, but I do have kind of a little bit of a headache. And I don't have to call into a manager to tell him I can't go to the gym, but I do have to call into myself and, make an excuse as to why I shouldn't go or whatever. Does he talk about lying to yourself at all?
If he does, I don't recall it very
Okay.
much. It's mostly lying to other
For
people.
relationships. Okay. Interesting.
Uh,
There's a really great quote by I think it was Jordan Peterson said, "You store your value in your reputation." And when he said that, like what you were just saying, it sounds like you're known at work to be honest and just straightforward. When you say something, it means something. You're not trying to hide or deceive, and that builds your reputation over time. Uh, just truth telling. Does he get into politics at all? I'm just curious.
um,
We don't
I
talk
think,
about politics here, but that's just
yeah,
like
I know.
rampant,
But that they're famous for that though, right?
well, we're
Yes,
going in an election year, so just prepare to be lied to
yeah,
constantly.
I think he just mentions, politicians just lie all the time, but he doesn't get more into that really. But that's just a kind of almost 100% natural fact that everybody knows. So
Yeah. Well, my dad was an attorney and my brother's an attorney, so I think lying might run in the family, or at least their version of the truth might run in the family.
yeah,
Although, anyway, it's funny. My dad always said he hated thieves and he hated liars, so he was very adamant about about those two things. So I
yeah.
I, I love it. I think this is really cool. I'm actually really interested to read this book. What would you so usually we say how do usually we find out how people would apply what they've learned. It sounds like you've kind of already tried to apply. What else are you working on? And then how would you rate the book?
So the question, what else would I work
Yeah,
on?
so you've already kind of made your mind up to tell the truth more often, but you said you still lie, which everyone kind of does. Um, what else would you want to work on, or what would take from the book, or should we take away from the book as far as kind of the final takeaway from the book, and then also just give us your rating, what you thought of the book, home run, for triple, double, whatever.
Yeah. I Yeah, really the whole book just talks about lying. And so the goal in working on is just being more honest. Like for example, I just was in the backyard a few weeks ago, and so, some missionaries came back in and started talking to me, and they were asking, um, do you know your next door neighbors? And we don't really go to church, and they don't go to church. And I didn't really want to give any information about them, but those next door neighbors are some of my best friends. We've gone camping together. We hang out in the
Mhm.
backyard together. We hunt together. Anyway, and so What I said was, nope, I don't know.
Gotcha.
You're like, in
And
what way do you mean no?
yeah, exactly. And so it was completely, that was just a straight blatant lie. And I was just trying to get out of an awkward situation. But
Sure.
what I wish I would have said is just like, yeah, I do know him, but I'm not willing to give any information about him,
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
and so,
And that's okay, right?
For sure.
uh-huh. And so I'm
Well,
just striving to be just more like that all the time. Just whatever the truth is, just say it. And, um, I think, just in all sorts of relationships, just the amount of trust and, the value that that brings in relationships. And because this book was something that actually made me change a habit of in my life, I'd give not just a home run, but a full, grand slam.
Grand Slam. I love it. It's actually,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm actually intrigued. I'm gonna have to try and find this book. It sounds really cool.
Yeah.
What Matt, what's I was gonna ask, what's the hardest truth you've ever had to tell?
Oh man.
Or the best lie
Hardest
you've ever
best
told?
lie.
Yeah, we gotta get some dirt here.
Hardest one.
um man, I don't that was that's you're putting me on the spot. I'm trying to think. I will say this. I try to my wife, whenever she buys something and tries it on, um, I always make her like go put it like, so let's say she tries a shirt on. I'm like, okay, well, what are you gonna wear it with? Like put some jeans on, or I remember she bought some shoes and she puts on one shoe and I'm like, well, put both on. And she gets all mad at me, like, can't you just decide what it was? I'm like, I need to see the whole picture. Like, I don't know. It never really goes well because she gets mad at me for wanting to see like what the outfit's gonna fully look like or whatever. But
Sure.
I will say this, at least with my wife, who's pretty honest as well, she kind of knows if she thinks it doesn't look good on her. So you can kind of tell like she's going to be like, no, I look like a cardboard box, like, or whatever.
Yeah,
You can kind of tell that you say, you know what? Yeah, it's not very flattering, right? Like you can kind of be honest with her because you kind of can already tell what she's thinking. Does that make sense?
sure.
Um, anyway,
That
so
might bring a hard
I was like,
conversation initially, but hopefully in the long run, she actually trusts you. And when you
oh,
do
for
say
sure.
something looks good, then she knows, okay, like he's not just saying that, he actually thinks that this does look good.
Yeah, and one trick I read, I don't remember where I read this many years ago. This is off the subject a little bit, but when you're giving someone a compliment, right? Like uh particularly a wife or somebody you're dating or whatever, you want to be very specific about it, right? Like that I not like just like, oh, that shirt looks good. Like here's why that shirt looks good, or here's, the color is really, good for your eyes or whatever the case may be. But if you I guess if you're gonna say something like doesn't look good. I know we're down a rabbit hole here, but maybe you give a really specific reason why, right? Like that's not flattering for this particular reason, and this is a great part of your body that you want to show off or whatever. Um, anyway, I wish I had thought about a good lie earlier.
No,
Zach.
that's well,
I will tell you. How about this? I'll tell you a friend's lie.
okay.
I had a really good friend, and I hope he's not listening to the podcast. But if he is, he knows who he is. Awesome friend in college. We were in the same fraternity, and it was really strange because he lied all the time. He told us that he had gone to Japan and got an entire tattoo on his back that covered his whole back. And then he got home and his dad made him get it removed. But yeah, there's no evidence, no scarring whatsoever. It was the most ridiculous thing. Like, dude, this did not happen. You don't like, we like you. There's no reason for you to like make up these ridiculous stories. We're already friends. You know what I mean? Like it was super weird. So I think he was definitely a compulsive liar. I love the guy, great guy. I just don't know why he always felt compelled to do that. It was very odd to me.
Well, it makes you wonder, like Sam Harris was just looking as a neuroscientist, you wonder where that behavior is learned.
Yeah.
In childhood, it's like not wanting to get caught. I've got a 9-year-old daughter, so we're, do you have kids,
No,
Bailey?
I don't have any kids.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Well, I do. I've got four.
Prepare yourself.
And you'll know that she was the only one around when this whatever happened, and it's like, did you do that? Nope. Are you sure? Yep. um
Kids are smart.
they are smart, and it's something you want to root out of them, to your point, just at a young age. Like, don't lie, just tell the truth. And I think as a parent, the way that you respond when something happens. You know, if you come in really heavy and heavy punishments when kids make mistakes, because we're all learning. I think maybe that's where it gets reinforced, Matt. I don't know. It's kind of an interesting, like for him to be in college and feel like you got to tell all these stories. It's interesting.
Yeah, it was very strange. So anyway, well, we appreciate Bailey. Thanks for coming on and talking to us about Lying by Sam Harris. We really appreciate you coming on and telling us about it. I'm going to check out this book and I'll have to report back. I feel like this is the only time I've ever committed to reading a book that's been pitched. But now now I gotta follow through because I can't lie about it. I'll look forward to one of these days when I actually give a short review of it as well. So I'm committing right now.
Yeah, shoot me a text or something. Let me know what you guys think.
Awesome, man. Thanks for coming on, Bailey. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys. It was awesome.
Thanks.
Thanks, Bailey.